Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here, giving my first impressions for the new Batwoman series on CW. Obviously, it's come across a buttload of controversy. Not real controversy. I should say it's just a bunch of hate because of the whole feminist thing, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's super feminist and it's super cringy and this and that." I just want to see the show because I'm like, I just hope it's good. I couldn't possibly care less if there is or is not an agenda. In all honesty, so checking it out, I was like, all right, let's see what happens. I thought she was okay in like the last crossover, which wasn't Infinite Crisis, whatever the last crossover, we'll just call it that, pre-Crisis. Um, I thought she was all right. We didn't see too much of her. Obviously, that takes place after where we currently are. But I was like, all right, let's get into it. Let's see what happens. Let's see how this unfolds. I didn't really know much about the characters. I didn't really care to look because I was like, I'm going to watch the series. Let's just see how they explain the characters, how they do the relationships, how they handle it. And I thought they did a decent job. As far as the good goes, I thought the acting was fine. I felt like it wasn't super. I mean, considering all the CW comic book shows, I feel like they always have their moments of when they're super serious. And the one thing with this is that it's riding this really weird line. So I feel like it's almost like caught in between being like Arrow and being, or at least tone wise, being like Arrow and kind of being near pretty much literally anything else. Like nothing is as serious as Arrow. So I guess Arrow, the closest, second closest, most serious thing they have, I guess, would be Legends. So it's like it's caught between that, where I'm like, it feels like it's not as serious as Arrow because they have this character who is serious, but at the same time, like she's a rebel, and like that's her whole thing is that she rebels against the rules, and those are it's like really dry jokes where, like Lucious, which I didn't know that guy was Lucius Fox. Once again, one of the random things I was like, oh, that's cool. They're doing like a younger Lucius, so Lucius Fox will be the one helping Cassandra out. So I thought that was kind of cool. And he's like, oh no, you shouldn't go down there or whatever. And she's like, I have this thing with rules, and she like closes the elevator. So it was like little witty jokes like that, and it was like, all right, that's fine. It's like just right in that middle segment where it's like, it's kind of serious, but at the same time, her attitude is more comedic, but it's still done in such a serious way. But I don't know, it's weird. It's hard to explain because it's not like it's sarcasm. Like that's what it like. It is sarcasm, but it doesn't really feel like it. Like I feel like I just cannot explain where it is. Where I'm like, I just feel like it's a little bit like stuck and not in the best way. It's not horrible or anything like that. But it was just like little stuff where I just be like, I feel like they need to have characters who are either more comedic or have like just that one character. Like they have Lucius, and it was like, okay, well, he's funny, but it's only because he's supposed to be like the nerdy dude, and he's not even really funny. He's legitimately just like the nerdy black guy, and I was like, it's not funny. That's just how it is. So it's just like whatever. There's no comedy there. So I feel like they need another character that brings more levity to the show, and I think her sister can do that because that seems like the character, and she seems cool. I like her character because it was like, oh, she's just this sister and stuff, and like when she calls it, she's like, your stepsister. She's like, yeah, our parents have been married for 10 years. I was kind of just waiting for you to go into something else. Like I know who you are. So I was like, okay, I can see that from her character first episode. So it's just like a little taste of everybody. And I am curious to see where things go between Cassandra and her father because they had a good moment. And this was, like I said, that serious moment, like at the end where, she confronts him and it's like, I guess both moments really when she was like, you never wanted me to be a part of the Crows. Like you sent me away because every time you look at me, you see my sister and you see mom. So you sent me away because all you think of are the two women that you lost. And I thought like, I thought that was a good moment. I was like, that was probably one of my favorite moments in the episode because it was so dramatic and I thought it was well acted. So I liked that moment. I thought it was well done. If I'm being totally honest, I was like, that's going to be your sister. I knew that from the beginning. As soon as she was like she knew who she was, I was like, that's her sister. Her sister didn't die. And of course, that ends up being the case at the end of the episode when she picks up the ballad song and it has the necklace in it, the necklace jewel. And I was like, okay, there you go. Because they brought up like the little mystery, like, well, Batman has all this tech and stuff like that and he couldn't find a body. It's still weird that he wasn't able to find her. But I guess he would have assumed that she was dead. And by the time you get to the point where it's like her body's, been dragged out to the ocean or wherever, she's already lost in the system, that sort of thing, or, just lost out in the world. So it was interesting. Also weird, as a little kid, somehow she just never, never found anybody in the city that she's still in. That is admittedly kind of weird, so I don't know how they're going to do that. Batman, of course, is gone. And I saw an article. So this is the thing that worried me when I saw this article, and I saw it earlier today. Didn't know this, but the writers don't know why. They're still figuring that part out. Like, why did Batman leave? They don't really know yet. And that's a normal thing for a lot of shows where it's like, oh yeah, we aren't 100% sure. Like, we have these story beats, we're not 100% sure what the answers are. But when it comes to that, I feel like they need to have something more. Like, I didn't read the whole article, but admittedly, it's not like definitive. They could have a little bit of something. I don't know. But I was like, I hope they got something, because saying Batman abandoned people and stuff like that, that's risky business. Like, they have to, they can't do it because they're doing Infinite Crisis this year. But I was like, while I was watching, I was like, man, they would have to pull, like, yeah, he got pulled for Infinite Crisis like 3 years ago. But I'm like, that doesn't work, because then that would have to be a big surprise, where it's like, surprise, we already cast Batman too. And then that still wouldn't make sense, because then he'd have to come back, which I don't know. So eventually they'll have to do that. It'll kind of be like the Superman thing for Supergirl. At some point, I assume they'll cast that and they'll figure it out. Maybe they'll do it through flashbacks or something. I don't know. But that probably won't be for a while. They'll probably just be like, yep, he's gone. It's been 3 years. Seemingly, there haven't been too many like supervillains around, because they don't mention them like at all. It's just like, oh, people aren't scared, but it's really just like Alice, and that's it. So they don't say like, yeah, ever since Batman left, like the Joker killed 1 billion people, like Catwoman's been stealing everything. They're just like, Batman left, and that's it. And it took them 3 years, and now they've kind of gotten back to normal a little bit, because they have the crows, which I thought it was funny that they bothered to go with that, because like everything has to be some flying creature, because it's like, you already got Batman, you got the birds of prey, you got the crows in this, and I was like, okay, it is what it is, but we got the crows. And so it's an interesting little thing. So I'm like, all right, we'll see how that ends up playing out, but it's an interesting concept. It definitely lends to that mystery where it's like, where did Bruce go? Like, what did happen? Like there's stuff where he admittedly did just leave, so it wouldn't be the craziest thing if it was like, yeah, he just left. Him and Selena Kyle, they got married and they just bolted. Hey, it happens. It almost happened in the comics, but it ended up being a comic book thing, so there you go. But I don't know. We'll see how that ends up playing out. But for now, we got Batwoman, and I think she did a good job. I thought it was good. She's a fighter. They show her in basic training and stuff like that. Of course, they get busted for kissing, so she ends up leaving. I totally forgot the other woman's name, who she actually came back to town for, but she ended up staying. We found out that she's married at the end. We'll see how long that lasts, because that's like a classic TV thing where it's like, oh, the main character is in love with this person that left. It would be cool if they don't actually get together. I think that would be very interesting, but either she's going to leave her husband or that dude is dead. Those are the two options I'm feeling right now, because that's like basic storytelling. It's like, oh, here's the love interest of the main character, and then we find out, years later, the main character finds out that the other person that they're still in love with has not only moved on, but got married. And it's like, I don't think you're going to be around too much longer, dude. So he'll be dead. I think his name was Kyle. I don't know why I remember that. But he'll be dead soon, or he'll just be left in the dust. One of those two things. It might take a minute. It might take half a season, but he's probably dead. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Alice will probably be like, oh, you're in love with her and he's in the way. She'll probably kill him. That would be funny if that's how it played out, but that'll be my little prediction for now. Alice will kill that guy because she's like, hey, I want to help my sister out, so I'm going to kill this dude, and eventually you two will get together. But then that'll be a crazy bit of turmoil, because, of course, Cassandra will know that her sister killed, her love's husband, or her love's love, if you will. So that will lead to some more tension and stuff like that, but that's just my little minute prediction for that. He's going to get killed. He'll be dead. He'll be killed by our main character's sister for our main character, and that'll weigh down on the main character, and she'll be like, oh, I can't be in love with the person because I'm the reason that she's suffering right now, but she wants to be there to comfort her because she loves her, and then they comfort each other, and then they're back together. Might take a minute, might take more than half the season. I'm pretty sure that guy's gonna die, though. That's just my guess. All in all, though, that was a decent first episode. I'll be excited when she gets the hair, because the Batsuit does look weird on her without the hair, and I knew that because they had it in, I think it was like the second trailer or something like that, and they showed her when she like first gets the suit, and of course like this episode, and I would assume she won't get it till the end of the next one. But I saw it without the hair, and I was like, yeah, it looks weird. It I don't know, something about it just doesn't feel right. Like it just looks weird. Excuse me. The suit itself, just to kind of do a random thing, because of course you have to rank all bat suits, because it's like, well, does it look cool? Does it not look cool? I thought it looked all right. It felt like something was missing when like they first go up to it and they show it. It felt like it was missing some designs. Like it felt like it was missing like patterns, like underneath where the actual emblem was, like right where the abs were and stuff, and like down to the waist. I felt like it was too plain, because the symbol itself looked like it had like cross stitching and stuff like that. So it looked like it had a cool pattern, and then it was just like plain black, and I was just like, I don't know, something about that just looks a little off. Like it seemed like there was too much detail in the emblem, and you can even see it a little bit on the arms too. And then in the middle is just like straight down, just classic. And I was like, I don't know, something about that, just too much of a contrast. It looked weird. And you can't really tell when she's like actually wearing a suit and moving around. But when I saw it, I was just like, it looks cool, but I felt like something just wasn't there. Something was missing. So that was interesting. She has like the little bat wings that made me think of Batman Beyond. Also the image itself, like when they showed it, like at the end, they show like the red bat symbol. Like all I can think is Batman Beyond because of that. But it looks cool. It seems fine. She's instantly good with the grappling hook, which I thought was admittedly a bit interesting. I was like, that's kind of quick. The CG looked horrible when she like flies off, and it's just like this tiny little CG bat, and I was like, something about that just looked, it just stuck out way too much, and I was like, that's weird. That should not stick out that much. It's like it's a black thing floating in the middle of the night. It shouldn't have looked that off-putting. I was like, I didn't like that too much, but other than that, I thought it was fine. The show is filmed weird. I will say that. It's not that it's filmed weird. It just looks different. Like, I'm currently watching Supergirl's premiere, and pretty much Supergirl and all the other DC CW shows, they have the same sort of TV look. This show does not. It's filmed like a movie a little bit, or it's at least filmed like a more dramatic series. It's filmed like it should be on like cable or something. And one of the big things about it is that they don't use a lot of sets. Like a lot of the stuff you could tell was like actually they just filmed in a real location. Like they filmed on a street, which by the way, when she drove up to Wayne Manor, that street looked exactly like it did, like the street from The Dark Knight. And I was like, that looks like that street. Like those buildings look the same. But I was like, yeah, they're actually filming, on open streets and stuff. And I was just like, it makes the show look weird because I'm so used to like, I guess it's weird to say it, but I think the best way I can really put it is I'm used to like the generic look of the CW comic book shows where it's like, okay, yeah, they're like kind of close up like this, and you expect it to be like this set style of filming where they do, 2/3 and this and other random nerdy camera rules, but you kind of expect that, and I felt like they follow the rules, of course, but it just looks so drastically different. And it wasn't just like the color tone is different, like Flash is bright, Green Arrow is dark. Like it wasn't like that. It was legitimately just like everything literally looked different. And it was the way they filmed it. It was where they filmed it, because they filmed. It's like when you see a sitcom and they leave the set and they have to film somewhere real. Like they film on a beach, or like a real beach. It was like that. Like only example I can honestly give you was like that '70s show. They filmed an episode at the beach, and I was like, this is the weirdest thing ever, because they film on a set in front of an audience and they do the laugh track and stuff, and then they had to film somewhere real, and it looked weird because it's just a different thing. Like you have to film with different settings basically in the real world, so it looks different, and I thought that was weird. Like it was throwing me off the whole episode. It looks good, but that's the thing. Like it looks so good, it just makes me be like, it's weird. I want this to look good because I like things to look better and high definition and all that good stuff, but it's weird to see it in that way because I'm used to everything just being like, they're on this set, they're in this same place that they've been 800 times and stuff like that. And I'm sure we'll have that. They'll have the Batcave, which is a set. I'm sure that construction fight that they did in that building was a set, and I'm sure other locations were as well. But you can tell like some of the spots, like when she's driving, a lot of stuff like that. They do a lot of pans over the city, and even the pans look different. They must be filming at a different frame rate or something, because they do that for the Flash, where they would like pan over the city, like even when he's running. That's like the whole thing. Sometimes it's CG, of course, but I'm like, even that, where it's literally just they clearly just put a drone over a city, or they were in the helicopter and filmed, it looks super different from the Flash than it did in this first episode. And I was just like, man, it's so off-putting. It's not bad. It's just that it's not what I was used to, like my senses and stuff, because I'm used to years and years of all these CW comic shows. They all look the same as far as the way that they're filmed, and this one was different. So that, like I said, it's not a bad take or anything. It's just something I noticed where it's just like, for any of you who may have been watching it and just been like, I can't put my finger on it, maybe that was it. It is filmed differently than all the other shows. It's not like every single shot was like, this just seems like a nice set and it's very well lit and everything's just nice and fancy. I was like, nope, they just filmed on an actual street, or they filmed in a real park. They were playing Zorro, by the way. I'm pretty sure that movie was Zorro that they were playing in the park, which is the movie that Bruce Wayne was watching when his parents were killed. At least in some of the origins of his parents' death, they were watching they were watching Zorro, not the Mask and Zorro, but they were watching Zorro. So I thought that was cool. I was like, oh, that's Zorro because it's a Batman reference. So that was pretty neat. I'm sure there are a million other references that I completely missed. Somehow he had the pearls to his mother's necklace. I guess in this timeline they weren't like shattered and bouncing all across the ground in slow motion like Batman v Superman. But I was like, okay, that's interesting. And, that was how he hid the Batcave. Like, he had it on top of this little thing and he would just twist it. And of course, he knew that no one would touch it because it's like, that's his dead mom's thing. No one would ever, touch that. It was actually kind of genius. Like, it's, a hidden in plain sight sort of deal. So I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense. So it'll be interesting to see where the show's headed. But I did like this first episode. Like I said, I can't wait to see her actually get the hair because I feel like the helmet part just looks weird. And I don't know, maybe it's because she's skinnier and she's got a smaller head. Like, it just looks like this weird tiny circle on her head and stuff. And I was just like, something about it looks off. So it needs the hair to, like, fit. So that's really it. I enjoyed the episode. I'm not losing my effing mind because it's like, oh, a woman did this and a woman did that. And I feel like a lot of the stuff that people probably complained about in context was fine. Like, a lot of people hated it when it was like, she mentioned, like, the suit will be perfect when it fits a woman. It's like, even when that happened, I was like, it's so dumb for people to be mad about that because obviously she means it'll be perfect because she's going to wear it. Like, it was such a dumb thing that people were mad about that, to me personally. I was just like, how is that an agenda thing? Like, obviously she means it'll be perfect when it fits a woman because she's a woman. Like, that's just normal. That just made sense. And I was like, hopefully people didn't lose their minds when it was in context, but I was like, that should have been obvious for everybody. But I don't know. I'm kind of excited to go on Twitter, see how much people hate it. I thought it was fine. I know the big thing is with Ruby Rose and whether or not she can act it. I thought she did okay. I wouldn't say it was like the craziest thing ever. Like I said, the one dramatic scene I thought was well done, at least. So there's something there. And we just gotta have to wait and see. Because I have seen her in other stuff, and admittedly, I'm kind of in the same camp as a lot of people. I don't think she's like the greatest actress, but I never thought she was like the worst. But I hadn't seen her in anything where it was dramatic. And this was legitimately, for me, the very first time. And I thought she did all right, at least. So that's all I can really say. We need more episodes. I thought she did fine in this first one, and we'll just have to see where it goes. And like I said, I thought she did fine when they like first introduced her as well, and like the tiny parts that she was in that too for the crossover last year. But we'll see where it goes. But that was my first impression. I don't expect to do a full-on review of this series or anything like that. I don't plan to add this to my repertoire of reviews, which I only review like one thing right now anyway. So I don't know. Maybe I will. I don't know. Just because it's the new show, I might do it. My reviews will be late because I don't have my laptop anyway, so I don't know when this will actually come up. But would still love to know what you guys thought about this first episode. Love it, hate it, just kind of right in the middle. What do you think about the visuals? I would love to know if that kind of just messed anyone else up because it really does look different from like all the other shows where it's like every show looks like this and then this, especially with it being another one of the comic shows. It's like, oh, it just looks different. It looks like kind of it's filmed like a movie a little bit in some of the scenes, not every scene, but. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Excited to see where we go. Looking forward to what they do with some of the other villains and what we end up getting from this series as far as villains and how long they're going to stick with the Alice thing, if that's just going to be one season, how all that stuff's going to unfold. But I'd love to know what you guys thought about this first episode, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, your least favorite parts about it. In general, do you want to see this keep going? Are you just out for this first episode? Whatever it is, please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.